In the motorcycle world, we often get caught up in labels and terms. One of the labels that gets to me is the term adventure. Somewhere a marketing executive decided to call their new model an adventure bike, and suddenly a new segment was born. If you are not riding one of the pre-labeled models, traveling off-road, tent camping, or traversing some far-off land, then you are not on an adventure. Personally, I don't subscribe to this. Sometimes the biggest challenges can be found rather close to home while riding on a crowded interstate highway in the eastern United States. Just one such example happened when I rode from Boston, Massachusetts to Jacksboro, Tennessee during the first week in November. On this trip, I was joined by my friend Kevin as we hit the road to pick up my new BushTec trailer. I had decided to purchase the trailer so that I could do some extended riding during my retirement years. My plan is to head cross-country on my own, but also have my wife join me for extended periods along the way. The trailer will allow me to carry camping gear as well as Kathy's riding gear for extended periods. Now, maybe the more practical option would have been to have the trailer shipped from Tennessee for around $700 additional, but I thought, why not take the opportunity for one last long trip of 2021. In addition, BushTec would install the hitch and wiring harness at no additional charge if I showed up to pick up the trailer. When I could have easily done this myself, having it done by those with experience seemed like a good idea. So typically, up here in the Northeast, we get the first frost of the year and possibly some snow in mid-November. So I wanted to try and start traveling as soon as the trailer was ready, which was scheduled for November 1st. Long-range forecasts look good with temps in the 50s and little rain predicted. So we planned to set out on Wednesday, November 3rd, and would pick up the trailer in Tennessee on Friday, November 5th. Well, of course, the best laid plans of mice and men do not always work out as you would like. And a cold front moved down from Canada, covering the entire eastern portion of the United States. But you can't control the weather, so we grabbed our layers and hit the road. When we left my house for Jacksboro, Tennessee, it was in the upper 30s and temps warmed up into the mid-50s. We knew that we had to make our way through Hartford, Connecticut, and some of the other eastern cities along our chosen route of I-84, so we planned to cover the 456 miles to Chambersburg, Pennsylvania on the first day. As expected, Hartford presented our first slowdown due to an accident. We sat in traffic for about an hour before bailing onto an alternative route, which proved to be the better way around city traffic. After escaping Hartford, we played hopscotch with big trucks and made our way to Chambersburg with no additional major slowdowns. Today we're coming to you from the road. I am in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. We are on the way down to Jacksboro, Tennessee to go to the BushTec trailer plant, where I'm going to pick up my new trailer and have a hitch installed on my BMW K1600. My buddy Kevin and I, we headed out this morning about 8 o'clock, a little before 8 o'clock. It was 38 degrees up in Massachusetts when we headed out. But finally, we ended up around 50 degrees here in Pennsylvania. And I just jumped out of what I think was the most satisfying shower I have ever taken. Oh God, it felt so good to get warm again. So that's a good ride overall.
It was a good ride over.
Ran into a little traffic around Hartford, had to take a detour, but we found a quicker way through Hartford, because we had to do that. And said, now we're here, gonna go grab something to eat. So that's it. The rolls are so warm, you just want to hold it. So we are packing up and getting ready to go for day 2 of this little adventure. And it is 26 degrees outside right now at just after 8 o'clock in the morning. But we got to get on the road because we have 520 miles or something to do today. So We're going to pack up, get some gas, and head out. And I decided that there's no GoPro shooting today. It's too damn cold. I'm just going to worry about staying warm. Upon rising, we found the morning temperature had dropped into the upper 20s. The BMW dashboard displayed something I had never seen before, a snowflake icon. I guess telling me that it was pretty stupid to ride at these kinds of temps. Time to add another layer and cowboy up. On the second day, we needed to cover the remaining 530 miles down to Jacksboro, and it was clear that it was going to be a cold one. On top of the cold temps, it was also overcast, so the rising sun would offer no help in keeping us warm. At the end of the day, we easily made it to the hotel despite Mother Nature throwing in a little rain. We actually did not mind the rain as it raised the temps to a more tolerable level. So we made it here today. We're waiting here for some food to be delivered to the hotel because we don't want to go back out again. But overall, we had a pretty good day. We got up and it was 26 degrees when we left the hotel. And we had about 530 miles or something to do today, which again, we were able to do. Ran through a little bit of rain. The first 100 miles was pretty darn cold. But it warmed up over 40 after that, and then, it's fairly comfortable to ride. 60 when we finally came into CARRYVILLE, Tennessee, which is right outside the town where the BushTec facility is. So tomorrow we go and we get the trailer, and we have the hitch, and get that installed, and then pick up the trailer. And then we'll head back on Saturday and Sunday. Well, friggin' idiots. 32 degrees. On Friday, it was again in the upper 20s, but we only had a few miles to the BushTec facility, and the GPS would get us there on the quickest route, or so we thought. It turns out that the BushTec plant is in an industrial area off the main highway, and there are a few twists and turns to get there. The GPS may have taken the shortest route, but it sure was not the best, as it got us onto some tight situations and gravel roads before locating the BushTec parking lot. I guess it was just another part of the adventure. Once there, the folks at BushTec were great. They welcomed us and got started on the hitch install right away. While waiting, Kevin and I walked to a local diner for breakfast and then took a quick tour of the plant, getting to see various stages of production. It was really cool to see how my trailer was put together and just how much work goes into each of these hand-built units. BushTec trailers may be more expensive than others, but I think they are well worth it when you see the quality of the build. I chose the Quantum Sport model and decided to black out the entire trailer. The blacked out look goes very well with the K1600 GTL, picking up on the black accents on the bags and fenders. Along with the looks, going black saves about $700 from a custom color. I also went pretty minimal on accessories, choosing to add a spare tire and internal mat. I did not add a cooler at this point, as I want to play around with packing before deciding on any additional equipment. The overall cost of the trailer, including hitch, wiring harness, hitch lock, suspension pump, and tongue weight scale, was just under $5,300. The week after I purchased it, the base price increased from $3,999 to $4,900. Everything is going up these days. Prices are rising because of supply chain costs and availability. I paid for my trailer by downsizing my stable of bikes. I sold my Yamaha Super Tenere as it was not getting used very much since I bought my WR250. The WR is just a lot more fun off-road, and the BMW K1600 GTL is of course our 2-up bike. I was sad to get rid of the S10, but the trailer is going to give us a lot more flexibility. One of the nice things about riding down to pick up the trailer was that I would have nearly 1,000 miles to get used to pulling it behind the GTL. I have never pulled a trailer before, so I knew it would take some getting used to and that I would have to make some accommodations to my riding style. namely going a bit wider on turns, taking more time to brake, and finding parking in a crowded lot. I also did not know how the trailer would pull at highway speeds, so we would start out a bit slower on the way home. This slower speed would turn out to be a good thing, not only allowing me to get used to the trailer, but once again it was extremely cold on Saturday morning as we started out. Once again, the BMW dash displayed the snowflake icon as the temperature hovered right around freezing. Along with slowing down, we also decided to cut back on the miles as we headed northward. Rather than try to do 500 miles each day, we would cut back to 400 on the first 2 days, which would give us a shorter third and final day heading home. Again, it was just too cold to worry about taking video, and honestly, the interstate is not the most interesting scenery. However, it is not boring as the traffic along the East Coast corridor keeps you on your toes. My first test with the trailer was taking a tight left-hand turn exiting the hotel entrance, and then a steep downhill with a stop and sharp right at the bottom. The folks at BushTec told us that just the week prior, a guy on his Goldwing pulling a trailer missed this turn and ended up in the ditch across the street. I definitely can see how this would happen if you took the corner too tight or became fixated on the wrong side of the road. For us, we just set up wide and had no issues making the turn. In fact, while I knew the trailer was back there, I did not feel any difference to normal riding. My next challenge was pulling into a gas station, but again, this proved to be no big deal. I just pulled in a little farther up to the pump and then made sure to clear the trailer when exiting. Having the trailer does make you more cognizant of parking situation at both gas stations and restaurants. Once I was done at the pump, I just looked for an open space at the edge of the property. In restaurant parking lots, this proved to be a bit more challenging, but I found that I could easily fit the trailer into 2 spots. Kevin could then just pull in alongside me. This technique worked very well on several occasions. On the highway, the trailer pulled effortlessly, with no detectable bounce due to the BushTec Air Ride suspension. The only time I could really tell the trailer was back there was on a long, sweeping turn, as it took slightly more countersteering pressure to maintain my line. Speed, of course, played a role in that the faster I was going, the more pressure was required. Our traveling speed was generally around 73 miles per hour, with occasional high-speed runs to pass or make our way through congested truck traffic. The trailer pulled great, even at speeds over 80 miles per hour. The BMW K1600 GTL is affected a bit by the turbulence created by large trucks. This does take a bit to get used to, but once you learn to have a light hand on the bars and let the bike do its thing, it's a great highway bike. I did not notice that the trailer increased or decreased this phenomena. After the first 100 miles pulling the trailer, I did make some changes to both the trailer suspension as well as the bike. I added 5 pounds of air to the trailer to make sure the wheels were straight up and down. This is how you need to set up the trailer suspension on a BushTec. And then I changed my bike settings from a single rider to single rider plus gear. This later change did make the bike handle better over bumps. For the first 100 miles, the bike was slightly rough when traversing road damage. But after making the suspension change, this was corrected. Thinking about it, this makes sense, in that adding the trailer is similar to carrying gear on the rear of your bike. Overall, the bike and trailer performed great on the trip home. Getting used to pulling the BushTec trailer was the least of the challenges we faced. The biggest issue was surviving the extreme cold temperatures. When we left the hotel in Tennessee, it was just below freezing at 31 degrees. I was wearing 3 layers under my climb jacket as well as tights under my riding pants. At this point, I went with a waterproof climb snowmobile glove, as protection from the elements was a more immediate concern than possible road rash. Of course, the heated grips and seat were cranked to the max. The good news was that the sky was clear and the sun would help to warm us throughout the day. During the first 100 miles of the return trip, my hands, feet, legs, face, and chest were all fine. However, my sides and back were getting very cold. Because of this, I ended up adding a 4th layer under my jacket. Yes, I looked like a sumo wrestler and could hardly move, but this extra layer made a big difference in keeping me warm. Kevin did something similar by adding a hooded sweatshirt under his jacket. Thank you to our wonderful wives for suggesting we bring these extra layers. While we thought it was cold on this first return day, the worst was yet to come. After stopping in Woodstock, Virginia, we woke to a low of 21 degrees, with frost on the cars as well as on the lid of my new trailer. We covered the bikes during the night, and this kept ice off the seats and windshields. However, after removing the covers and walking back inside for a second load of gear, we found the ice could not be denied. In just a few minutes, the seats, windshields, and mirrors were all covered.
Way back there is Craig in the background. That's this morning. Yep, it's frozen. Happy trails.
At the end of the day, we made it all the way back to New England. But due to the time zone rollback, we lost an hour of daylight and did not want to fight Hartford traffic at night. For this reason, and wanting to warm up, we stopped in Woodstock, Connecticut, which would give us a short 2-hour ride home the next morning. This turned out to be a great choice, as in the morning we were refreshed and the temps were forecasted to be about 10 degrees warmer than the preceding day. We relaxed, had some breakfast, and loaded up the bikes at about 8 a.m. I am very thankful to say the temperature was around 40 degrees, which is much more tolerable. By the time I pulled into my driveway, it was actually 61 degrees. All in all, we had a great trip with a few challenges due to weather, traffic, and of course, my GPS misguidance. But I'm glad to have my new trailer, and I look forward to some big trips next year. Now, all I have to do is play with packing over the winter months. Ride safe, my friends.